Good morning and welcome to the Tuesday, April 11th meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. We begin our meetings with an invocation. So stand if you would like to join us. Pastor Joseph Winger from Boulder Street Church will be delivering our invocation this morning.
Good morning. Thank you, commissioners and clerk and administrator and attorney, and thank you for all our Sheriff's Department represented here. Thank you for leading and serving us. Join with me. Father in heaven, you said that faith works by love. I believe most of us in here, if not all of us, love El Paso County. So we're praying today in faith, believing that as history has taught us, when humans cry out to you, something happens. There's a shift, there's a difference. And so we, as sons and daughters, cry out and say, come, have your way with El Paso County. When I look at the agenda, the critical decisions, the memorandums of agreement, the procurements, contracts, appropriation of expenditures, our leaders need your wisdom. So I claim Isaiah 48, I, the Lord your God, teaches you to benefit. Release that teaching benefit or teaching aspect today for benefit in our county. You said you would lead us in the way that we would go. And then in the book of Proverbs, you say, if we trust in you with all our hearts, depend on you and not on our own understanding, we seek your will in all we do, you will show us the path to take. And I know many of our commissioners cry out that way, and we join with them. And then out of this highest authoritative body in our wonderful county, we speak this ancient blessing. May the Lord bless you, El Paso County, and protect you. God, that's through our Sheriff's Department to the Health Department and everything in between. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord show you his favor. Give us your favor and your presence, and the Lord make his shalom and peace dwell upon us. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And Sheriff Roybal, will you please lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States to the republic. Liberty and justice.
Item number 3.
Item number 3 is staff emergency items, and I'm unaware of any staff emergency items today.
Item number 4.
Item number 4 is changes, postponements, and notice of the next meeting. There is one change to the agenda today. Item number 9 will be considered after item number 5, and the next meeting will be April 18th at 9:00 a.m. and again at 1:00 p.m. for land use.
Thank you. And item number 5.
Item number 5 is the consent calendar consisting of items 5A through 5I4.
Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on anything on the consent calendar? Any online? Hearing none, I will bring it up here for discussion and a motion.
I move approval of items 5A through I4.
And I'll second.
That has been moved and seconded. I will call the roll. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The consent calendar passes 5-0. And I think that brings us, per the changes discussed by the clerk, to item number 9.
Item number 9, proclamation recognizing National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week and recognizing dispatchers and call takers as first responders. Carrie Geithner, Vice Chair, Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you. I'd like to move approval of the proclamation recognizing National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week and recognizing dispatchers and call takers as first responders. Whereas emergencies occur around the clock, which require prompt response by police officers and deputies, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel in order to save lives and protect property. And whereas the safety of our first responders depends largely upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from those who call the El Paso County 911 dispatch centers for help. And Whereas emergency services dispatchers and call takers on duty in these centers are the first contacts made by callers who need emergency services. And whereas emergency services dispatchers and call takers must gather important pre-arrival information from callers who are frequently confused and frightened, and then relay that information accurately to first responders in order to save lives or prevent further loss of property. And whereas emergency services dispatchers also provide a vital communications lifeline for our law enforcement officers, firefighters, and emergency medical responders by monitoring their radio transmissions and providing them critical information needed to ensure their safety as they respond to the emergency at hand. And whereas emergency services dispatchers and call takers in El Paso County contribute daily to the safe, successful, and efficient apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of medical emergencies. And whereas all El Paso County 911 emergency dispatchers and call takers are trained in emergency medical dispatch, qualifying them to offer a variety of potentially life-saving instructions, including CPR, bleeding control, choking, childbirth, and airway maintenance over the telephone until paramedics arrive on scene. And whereas in 2022, El Paso County 911 dispatchers and call takers gave medical guidance to over 14,000 callers and were recognized for their roles in saving the lives of 8 people and delivering 7 babies. And whereas emergency services dispatchers and call takers working in agencies throughout El Paso County have exhibited compassion, patience, understanding, and great professionalism during the performance of their jobs in the past year. And whereas 911 telecommunicators are currently categorized in the standard occupational classification system as an office and administrative support occupation, a category which includes secretaries, office clerks, and taxi cab dispatchers, a classification which does not recognize their central role in public safety and homeland security, their specialized training and skills, and their uniquely stressful work environment. Now, therefore, the Board of County Commissioners of El Paso County, Colorado hereby recognizes the week of April 9th through 15th, 2023 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in El Paso County and proclaims its gratitude and support for the men and women working in our emergency dispatch centers whose compassion, diligence, and professionalism help keep our citizens safe. And be it further resolved, the Board of County Commissioners of El Paso County, Colorado hereby recognize El Paso County 911 emergency dispatchers and call takers as first responders. Done this 11th day of April 2023 at Colorado Springs, Colorado. The Board of County Commissioners of El Paso County, Cami Bremer, Chair, Carrie Geithner, Vice Chair, Lojinos Gonzalez, Jr., Member, Stan Vanderwerf, Member, Holly Williams, Member, and attested to by Steve Schlaker, County Clerk and Recorder.
Second.
That has been moved and seconded. Sheriff Roybal, if you and your team, anyone that you would like to come forward, come on up and we'd love to hear from you.
And there they are.
Good morning, Commission. Joe Roybal, Sheriff. As the brave men and women behind me work their way down, I will thank you for recognizing them as first responders. This is long overdue, and I'm appreciative of this commission for recognizing them as such. They sit in a room all day taking calls. You know, as first responders, whether firefighters or police officers, we respond from emergency to emergency. But truly, dispatchers, those emergencies are call to call to call, and it is never ending for them. And a little known secret that I will reveal this morning, when the firefighters and when the police officers need help, you know who we call? The brave women, men and women behind us, dispatchers. So not only does the public ask for their assistance, we do as well. And we know when we need help, especially in those most trying times, they are there for us 100% of the time without fail. And that's a tremendous responsibility that they proudly and gladly take on. And it is my honor and privilege to serve with these men and women behind me. And I'm proud that you'll recognize them as first responders, because honestly, they are the first responder. Thank you. Now I'll introduce Commander Mitch Mahalko to say a few words on behalf of his team.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. Wanted to thank you, number one, for taking the time to vote on such an important proclamation. Secondly, for your support of El Paso County 911. A lot of people don't recognize and realize what goes into getting hired and trained as a El Paso County dispatcher. Exams measure aptitude, typing skills, multitasking skills and abilities. Numerous certifications are achieved within a training period of 16 weeks for call takers and 39 weeks for dispatchers. The personnel in our comm center need to be problem solvers, stay calm and cool under high-stress situations, and have a thorough knowledge of local and surrounding areas. They receive a lot of calls. On average, our comm center receives approximately 550 telephone calls per day. Many of those are 911 emergency calls. In El Paso County, we dispatch for 8 law enforcement agencies and 21 fire agencies. And to kind of give you a visual on that, just a portion of our agencies are represented here today. I would ask that our law enforcement and fire partners, if you wouldn't mind, please standing. So for each one of these agencies, these dispatchers are there for them 24/7. They're able to respond to calls for help, not only from our public, but also the assistance that are needed for our field response. Thank you so much. Emergency call takers and dispatchers create a high-performing team that is an integral part of the overall public safety system necessary for timely, professional response to our community. And once again, I want to thank you, Commissioners, for your unwavering support of these women and men who keep each one of us safe each and every day. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this resolution? All right. No one? Anyone online? Okay, I will bring it up here for discussion and comments. Commissioner.
Yes, at the Sheriff's Award dinner, I had the opportunity to sit by the dispatchers, and it was just wonderful. They do deserve to be first responders. They work in a high-stress environment. I wrote down they saved 8 people and delivered 7 babies. So I think that is absolutely wonderful. I also wanted to state that there are some who've had to be on the phone calls where we've lost deputies in service, and that has to be tremendously hard to do that, to be the one who is on the phone call when there's a deputy down. We appreciate greatly all that you do. It's a high-stress job. It's an important job, and it's such a proud profession to serve in for all of the deputies and police officers who are here. I remember the many times I've had to call 911, but one in particular was when I was headed to church, and we have a small pond above us, and high school kids decided to walk out onto the ice to film their to go ahead and film a little movie. And I said, well, that's really stupid. And so I was able to get a hold of 911 and then had to miss my church activity because I had to go back around to the pond to meet the firefighters there. And then the very next year, the firefighters were practicing in the ice cold, going out and rescuing people in that pond. And so there's so many different ways that we can get into trouble. The other time I called 911 was at a time when 2 little boys were trying to cross a crosswalk, and the car coming by did not stop, and then stopped and started to harass the little boys. And I was very impressed at how fast the police got out there to help those little boys, because adults should not be picking on little boys who are just trying to cross a crosswalk. So I just wanted to state I really appreciate all you do. I never realized you weren't first responders, because you are the very first responders. And the calm and the stability that you have on that other end of the line, no matter what the case, is amazing to watch and to listen to. So thank you very much.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to thank you as well. And I'll just start off by saying you've got a big support group behind you here. Look at all of them. That's pretty awesome. And you know, those are law enforcement personnel, and it's obvious they know how important you are. I kind of wish the community would know it a little bit better. And that makes me wonder if maybe we should give Wayne Laugesen a call over at the Gazette and ask him if he could get a reporter to come over and interview a bunch of you and put it on the top side of the front page. Maybe just once. Wouldn't that be nice, so that citizens can know more about what you do and the kind of work you do? And you are our first responders, and that's both dispatchers and the people that take the 911 calls. It's all of you. And I've been a observer of that and a user of that as well. I think it was last year I made 2 911 calls. Both of them happened to be a large piece of debris on I-25 that just looked destined to be an accident. I see some people shaking heads. Maybe you took my call. I don't know. But there was no question. Whoever took my call, absolute professional, just did their job, took the information, said that they would call the appropriate people. And I think in one of the cases, others had already called and they informed me of that. So there we were, doing the job. And the other time where I observed this was when I did a ride-along with one of the deputy sheriffs and was listening to dispatch communicate with that law enforcement officer, and I believe that's what I was hearing. And that was talking about, hey, we need you to go to this place or go to that place, or, you know. So this is, you know, this is all about telecommunications. This is all about the community working together so that we can be safe. This is utilizing the interest of the community to have a safe community and get it to the appropriate people, and that's telecommunicating. And you're the glue, you're the middle of that makes it work. So I'm just very, very grateful for all of you in doing this job. I have to imagine in many cases it's very, very rewarding, and also in some cases it's pretty disheartening and tough. I'm sure there's both. But I know you keep on moving on, and I just appreciate that. So thank you to all of you for everything that you do, and I am just really glad that we're doing this proclamation today. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank everybody for all the great work that you do, Mitch, for leadership with them as well, and making sure that we are having the best and strongest effective first response that we can have. I think if you've watched nationally, just in the last 2 days and the last several weeks, the importance of first response and good, strong, timely first response saves lives. We saw that just in the last couple of days and the last couple of weeks. And so locally, again, I'm proud of the fact that you guys have worked with us and do all the great things that you've done for us. I know we have a strong team. I've gotten to work with you, see you a lot and over the last several years. And I just want to thank you again for all the great work. And I know that our community feels safer and are better because of your work. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll make my comments and let Commissioner Geithner, who read the proclamation, wrap it up. Thank you. And, you know, everything that has been said by my colleagues is absolutely true. I think the way in which you all even just gathered when we said come on forward is indicative of how you conduct yourselves always. You were efficient, calm, organized, professional, and then patient while we're all talking. So thank you. Thank you for feeling called to do this and taking the stress home sometimes. Thank you to your families. This community thanks you tremendously. And I think just the fact that your 8 other agency partners are here standing with you today is indicative of how highly you're respected by them. And so thank you for being here. I don't know how often you get to meet or see the people that may be answering your calls on the other end of the line, but take the opportunity today to look these fine people in the eye and share a smile or a memory. But thank you very much for being here to support them as well. You all are very, very clearly a team, and for someone who feels the overwhelmingly heavy burden of taking care of close to 800,000 El Paso County residents, to know how seamlessly this huge piece of public safety is working is so comforting. And I think it's probably comforting to our residents as well. So thank you all for your leadership. And Commissioner Geithner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. To those of you I didn't see this morning, I had the wonderful opportunity of meeting and spending a little bit of time over at the Sheriff's Office early this morning. And it was great to meet so many of you and truly see what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. It's pretty amazing, the amount of trust and faith that all of our law enforcement partners and our fire departments put in you, and it is well placed, absolutely. But this morning, actually, Cassandra over at the Sheriff's Office said something to me that I've been thinking about this morning, and that is, these are the voices that people in our community who are having the worst day of their lives hear. And it is so comforting to know none of us ever want to be in a situation where we are desperate for help. But it is so comforting to know that when our community members are faced with those situations, that your voices are on the other end, calmly doing everything that you can to get help on the way, to calm them, to support them. And that is just a really tremendous gift that you offer our community. So thank you for all of your dedication to our community. We truly couldn't do it without you. And so really grateful for your sacrifices. I know that it is a tough job. Happy to absolutely recognize you as the first responders that you deserve to be recognized as. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Beautiful comments. So this proclamation recognizing National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week and recognizing dispatchers and call takers as first responders has been moved and seconded. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. Congratulations. I think we'll take a brief recess at this point to have a photo and congratulate you all in person. And I will call this meeting back to order. We are on item number 6.
Item number 6 is comments by elected officials and commissioner liaison reports.
Sheriff Roybal, would you like to make some comments in this item?
Give you an update on some high-profile stuff in my office. None more so than the Stouch case, where many of my deputies and detectives are testifying, working with District Attorney Michael Allen in the prosecution of that case. I am grateful for Michael Allen sending me a thank you and acknowledging the great work that my deputies and detectives have done in that case and their professionalism during their testimony. So I want to publicly recognize and thank District Attorney Michael Allen for that. Shortly after this, we are going to recognize K-9 Jinx, who sacrificed his life in protection of officers in Manitou Springs a year ago today. I'm going to give public comment outside and lay a rose honoring him. In May, I will be traveling to Washington, D.C., where unfortunately I will have the honor of seeing Andrew Peary and Jinx names placed on the Wall of Honor in Washington, D.C. So right now is a tough time for my office, and as May gets closer, even tougher. But today, recognizing Jinx is an important part of the healing process for my office. Thank you.
Are there any other elected officials wishing to make comments online? Okay, I will bring it up here. Commissioner Williams.
Yes, so I remembered we had a dispatcher who had a birthday today, but I had also forgotten about Officer K-9 Jinx, and that was a devastating loss to the members of our Sheriff's Department. And whether it be our K-9s or our deputies, they are all an important role in our community, and to lose one was devastating as well. So I did state I may not have very many comments this morning, but then I was thinking today over at City Council, they are doing a resolution against the land use bill, which was considered by the Senate last week. And I wanted to point out some items on it because the city does believe it's probably unconstitutional because it violates their city charter, but some of the things it does that I felt citizens should be aware of. Accessory dwelling units, whether you live in Senator Tony Exum's district, which would be around Valley High Golf Course, and you've worked hard to buy your own house and build up equity in it, or if you live in the Broadmoor, or if you live in Flying Horse, or if you live over in Representative Mark Schneider's district or Representative Stephanie Vihill's district. So if you live in Manitou Springs, if you live in over by the Country Club, if you live over in Stetson Hills, your neighbor has now the right to put up a second home in their backyard. So if you think how this will affect the parking in your neighborhood, this will be a faceless department that is an unelected bureaucrat who makes these decisions in CDOT, in the Department of Local Affairs. I will say, you know, when we went to our statewide transportation advisory committee meeting on Thursday last week, the frustration that I expressed was with House Bill 1101, where they decided to move Summit County out of its transportation planning region without even notifying the 9 transportation commissioners who govern the Colorado Department of Transportation. That department right now, I would state, is flat out of control. when one staff member can decide to add something into a House bill without notifying their bosses that it's going to happen, that is highly inappropriate. And so that's one of our concerns with them also adding transportation into the land use bill, is for the rural communities with multimodal funding being directed specifically to bigger cities and to higher density areas. Through this land use bill, it's really going to put the rural communities at a disadvantage for any of the multimodal funding. I will tell you, the funding we have as transportation is very minimal to begin with. You get a project on the list, such as my favorite one, which was Powers and Research. Nothing short of a miracle, it got done within 20 years. Nothing short of a miracle, and that was because Congress added additional money into some of those projects. And so to put a project on the list and to wait for 20 years for it to happen, it's not fair to the driver, it's not fair to the community, it is absolutely not fair to all of the accidents that occur. The fact that we got the GAP funding and we managed to jump ahead of some funding up in Larimer County and northern I-25, again, was a testament to the fact that that had become a very dangerous zone, and the accidents on the weekends were usually deadly and closed the freeway down for hours on end. And so I just wanted to state on that land use bill is, and the other thing that people need to realize is HOAs will have no control over this. Now, my HOA is a little bit different because all 64 of us own a little part of our courtyard, so you'd have to get 64 people to agree on an accessory dwelling unit. But if you live in an HOA-controlled neighborhood and you say there's no way this bill will affect us, you are wrong. And so homeowners associations need to realize, and I'll be letting mine know because they have good word of mouth, they have family in town. They need to realize that just because you live in a covenant-protected community or a community with a homeowners association, that's not going to stop an accessory dwelling unit or a second house from appearing in your neighbor's backyard. Because someone at the Department of Local Affairs will have the right to approve that application. And you won't know who that person is. You won't be able to recall them if you disagree with them. They're not elected. And so that's, I wasn't going to have many comments today because I was out of town last week, but I did want to comment on that bill. This week on my calendar, I do have the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments tomorrow. I have a public safety roundtable with Senator Hickenlooper. I have the Pikes Peak RTA Board of Directors meeting. On Thursday, we do have CCI steering committees. I do hope to get up to some of those. Friday, we also have CCI steering committees, but I do not think I'll be able to make it to many of those and attend those virtually. And then on Friday evening, Phil Long is opening a new Hyundai up near where I live. So I'm going to be going up to that. So those are the items on my schedule this week. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So tomorrow morning, I'll be in Denver sitting on an international trade panel talking about foreign direct investment in Colorado and specifically in El Paso County. As a result of that, I will not be able to attend the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments meeting, which is also going to be taking place tomorrow morning. Also tomorrow, I will also participate in an event with Senator Hickenlooper. I think it is at Mount Carmel, and it will be discussing veteran issues. I'm looking forward to that and kind of get a better understanding about his point of view on some of the veteran issues that we deal with. And we have, it's obvious, we all know we have a lot of veterans here in our community. And just as a reminder, next week, we will have the annual Space Symposium. And I do recommend that if you're in the space industry, you do go to that. It's a great way to network with people from that industry. And we have, as everyone knows, a very strong space industry here in Colorado and in particular here in El Paso County. Also, Tuesday next week, prior to the Board of County Commissioners meeting, I'll be participating in the DMTF meeting. Some of the topics that have been of interest to that group which is the Defense Mission Task Force, is the PFOS/PFOA issue. And just recently, the EPA lowered the standard for communities, and that's going to make the PFOS/PFOA issue a huge issue across the nation. Fortunately, we've done a good amount of work here in El Paso County regarding that issue, and we actually may be in a better place considering the change in the EPA requirement. Another topic for DMTF is the North Gate at Peterson Air Force Base, and they do talk about that pretty regularly. And then the third one, they do participate in a national association called the Association of Defense Communities. I did go in February to their legislative convention, and they do interact with Congress at that time, and then they have a summer national conference, which I plan on participating in. Also, over the weekend, actually on Friday and Saturday, I will be attending the National Rifle Association National Convention in Indianapolis. And on Friday, they have a day-long legal session to talk about the legal components of Second Amendment rights and so forth. This is a topic of great interest to me, but just want to declare that it is not funded by the county or by taxpayers. This is my own personal travel. But I will enjoy going to that conference. And then I appreciate, my last item is I appreciate Commissioner Williams' comments with regard to land use bill. I know that some other commissioners may also have additional comments on it. But this is a terrible bill. It's my understanding it's going to be bogged down in lawsuits if it is enacted. There were hundreds of people last week trying to testify against it. That is bipartisan opposition to this bill. And the key things that are of great concern to me, and I believe also every member of this board, is if enacted, it will take away local control again, like so many other bills recently that have been enacted, and also create an unfunded mandate. It will cost communities more, and it will take away local control. It will not allow local communities to work with their local elected officials to figure out what the best way is to ensure that we have the best land use. And every community is different. And as always, when you do this out of the state, it becomes one size fits all across the entire state. Just a huge problem. I tell you, I wish that the state legislature would stop messing around with things like this and actually do something about construction defect reform, which produces, without that changing, produces liability concerns that make it difficult for builders to build multifamily housing. And if we would just actually address the real problems about multifamily housing and affordable housing, there would be an enormous amount of progress in this state, but it just doesn't seem like the state legislature has an interest in that. And some do, let me put it this way. Some legislators do have an interest in that, but others do not. And I think that's very unfortunate. So those are my comments for this morning, and thank you very much.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to start off by welcoming a group of Charis Bible College students, I believe from the practical government class. So just want to highlight them. Immediately after this, or I think it's item 8, will be public comment. I hope one of you will come down and tell us a little bit about your course, and then hopefully somebody else will also tell us about what you think is an important issue locally, so you can see how the public comment issues occur, and getting to participate. Last year, I think they got to participate. Saw a very lively discussion during one of the election issues meetings that we had. This one is not quite so lively, but I think you got to see some good public law enforcement, first responder information and support that we provide to our first responders and law enforcement. So still a good meeting. So hopefully we'll hear from you at the public comments. For our meetings, I too will be participating at Mount Carmel. It will be at 1 o'clock, and I do want to highlight very specifically, it will be at the Mount Carmel Center, Veteran Service Center office. At 1 p.m., it will be hosted by Senator Hickenlooper, and they will be focusing on PACT Act updates. And so for people that aren't familiar with that, any veterans who may want to have issues, former legislation had issues related to Agent Orange, and I think the general public understands how that would clearly cause issues and health issues, cancer issues with veterans, and so that is a benefit, and that was supporting veterans from the Vietnam area generally. But we also have similar issues with burn pits, and we saw that in the Middle East for the that deployed. And so the PACT Act expanded that and opened it up to burn pits. So it'll be largely centered on PACT Act updates. One of the things we've seen since this was implemented last year, I'm on the State Board of Veteran Affairs, is almost a doubling, I believe, of the number of new requests for benefits. And so there needs to be additional funding to help support the different service officers, veteran service officers across the federal government and state and local because of the increase of applications for these benefits. But we want to make sure all the veterans know about the benefits that they have earned and deserve. And so if you do have questions, please stop by at 1 p.m. tomorrow at Mount Carmel to get additional information. The senator will be there in person. Also tomorrow, I will have, actually on Thursday, I do have a morning meeting with the MAC, monthly meeting, and then PPRTA in the afternoon, I'm sorry, Wednesday, this is tomorrow, and then in the afternoon, PPRTA. And then Thursday and Friday is the CCI meetings. I will be able to participate on the Thursday meetings, not the Friday meetings. But a good example of what your county commissioners do, and Commissioner Williams already kind of highlighted some of this, is some of the bills that we're seeing. Last week, I think you had great examples of leadership from your county. Commissioner Geithner and I, and I'm sure she'll expand also, did participate in a special meeting of CCI. That's our Colorado Counties Incorporated, so our statewide association, where we were able to get in discussions, both Commissioner Geithner and I spoke on the issue of the land use bill. We were able to help convince the association to take an opposed position to that, and I think it passed 76%. So this was a bipartisan effort to oppose this bill because of its taking of local control. And then I'll just, on that, just close by saying this is a bill that did come out of, it's going through the legislature, but this is one that came out of the governor's office. And last year when he was running for re-election, Governor Polis highlighted local control, his support for local control all year. And this one is taking absolutely local control away from local governments. And so I asked the governor to pull this and indefinitely postpone it, because this is something that should not be taken away from your local governments. Thank you.
Commissioner Geithner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So a couple of things going on this week. PPRTA, as was mentioned, is tomorrow. I'll be participating in that. Also on Thursday and Friday, additional CCI steering committee meetings, which we see the importance of being and participating in those meetings and helping to move the conversation on this legislation. Also have citizen outreach on Monday, and last Thursday I wanted to just follow up on, because it wasn't something that I spoke about at our Tuesday meeting last week, but I did go and testify on that land use bill at the Capitol on Thursday, along with our government affairs team, who did just a tremendous job and have done a tremendous job of preparing us, making sure we have all of the latest information on this bill and many, many others. But it was a very interesting opportunity. There were people from all over, lots of opposition, bipartisan opposition to this bill, both because of the taking away of local control, which I do think is very unfortunate, but also because this would hugely grow our state government. The fiscal note on this bill is millions and millions of dollars to expand an existing government agency and to move it from an advisory capacity to a regulatory body. And again, all without any oversight from elected officials. I mean, you have the governor's office, who is obviously over that, but they are not responsive to our citizens in the same way as our local government is. I was also really upset to hear that many individuals went up to testify on that bill, and there were, I believe, 400 additional people signed up by the time we left the Capitol in the afternoon after waiting all day on that bill. Several of those individuals were from our area, including the mayor of Fountain, who was there long after we were. But I was dismayed to hear that many of the individuals who were allowed to testify were from special interest groups outside of the state of Colorado, who were testifying online from places like California, while our local officials sat and waited to testify. So that was very disheartening to see the kind of prioritization of outside groups when we had many local individuals giving up their entire day to be able to go there and testify for 2 minutes, which was the amount of time that we had. So in addition to that bill, which is very egregious, and there's so many reasons why we are all actively opposing that, along with the city and all of our other jurisdictions. We do have many other bills that are still working their way through the legislature, and it continues to be a very active place. But last week, something happened at the Capitol that I wanted to take a minute to highlight. Unfortunately, I know that most folks are very busy in their daily lives, and we don't always hear about all the things that are going on. So I want to take a minute and just read from a letter that was written specifically to Speaker McCluskey and the Majority Leader from the Minority Leader and the Minority Caucus about an event that happened last week. So this portion of the letter says, during a speech from House Minority Leader Mike Lynch, protesters began interrupting by yelling from the gallery. The Sergeant at Arms, doing what their job requires them to do per CRS 18-9-108 and 110, respectfully asked the protesters to leave and called the Colorado State Patrol. Once ordered to leave by the sergeants and law enforcement, the protesters refused. This led to a situation where at least one of the protesters was physically removed by the Colorado State Patrol. None of the protesters were treated for injuries or claimed they needed medical attention. Furthermore, none were charged or arrested for violations of interfering with the legislative process or resisting law enforcement. Everyone wants citizens to be able to participate, and we certainly always in the state of Colorado over and over again talk about the right of free speech. We talk about how important it is to be able to weigh in on those governmental decisions. But we also know that it's very important that we don't have complete chaos when we have legislation that needs to proceed. Unfortunately, there has been a trend in our nation over the last couple of weeks of protesters being very disruptive in our state capitals. This was no different, and I didn't see a whole lot of media coverage of this, or most people did not see the disruptions that happened here and the protests that became, situations where, again, you have a right to protest, but not necessarily in the House where there is work being done in those situations. But it got worse, I think. And I'm going to read a little more of this letter. To our surprise, many of our colleagues across the aisle not only consoled and encouraged the protesters, some have privately called for our sergeants to lose their jobs for doing what they were trained to do in such circumstances. The Speaker of the House, along with the Majority Leader, gave public statements to the media admonishing the actions of our sergeants and our state patrol, and the Majority Leader implied their actions were driven by racism. So this is absolutely a symptom of what we continue to see more and more of is attack on law enforcement in our state. Our governor and many of the folks who ran in our legislature made comments about making our state safer and tackling crime, and I don't see it. I think that if they are serious about supporting our law enforcement and enforcing our laws and our rules, then it's time to get serious about making statements publicly that support those things. So this was a very disappointing thing. I was saddened to see that there didn't seem to be a whole lot of coverage in the media, and that citizens are not aware of what was going on at our Capitol, and the kind of encouragement that some of our lawmakers are making to this kind of chaos. So just wanted to bring that to the forefront, and that is all I have for today.
Well said. Thank you, Commissioner Geithner. I had the opportunity to participate last week in 2 groundbreakings, and I want to point out that while this board often deals with development in the county, in the undeveloped areas of the county, both of these projects were infill. They were redevelopment projects or urbanized areas of within the city of Colorado Springs, which is also mostly within my district that I represent. So both of these projects were a long time coming, and what I just wanted to say is that it's great to see the partnership between statewide agencies, local nonprofits, local business and community support to make some of these projects come to fruition. And I'm just encouraged by the level of collaboration that that is required to get some of these even to the groundbreaking point. But I think that they will serve our region and our citizens well. And then I also, as many of my colleagues have mentioned, I have Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments this week, and it sounds like Senator Hickenlooper's staff has done a great job incorporating the commissioners on various topics. I've heard two of them talk about VA. I think Commissioner Williams and I will be involved in a public safety roundtable, and that's encouraging that our federally elected officials will come in and talk to us about how what's needed in our area and how they can perhaps partner with us on that. I also have El Paso County Housing Authority, and then a luncheon for a local nonprofit called We Fortify. They're doing an excellent job of providing some transitional housing, particularly for those aging out of foster care. So they saw a need, and they're meeting it in a very specific way with wraparound services. And again, it kind of takes all of us to, we have to work with our nonprofit partners, and they certainly saw a need and have matched it. And that's encouraging to us. And then on Friday, I also have the state's Child Welfare Allocation Committee, and I'm in discussions about actually proposing a bylaw change to that would allow the makeup of that committee is set in state statute, and by virtue of, unfortunately, having one of the highest child welfare counts in the state of Colorado, El Paso County has a by-county, by-name slot. And so my bylaws proposal will be that that whether I am able, as the appointed member of that, to attend or not, that El Paso County does not lose our voice at that statewide board. So to perhaps allow for proxies, and very specifically that those proxies remain probably amongst your elected officials. And then I also wanted to congratulate those three new city council members. I understand that they will be sworn in next Tuesday, a week from today, most likely right in the middle of our meeting. So we will try to figure out if we can participate in that or not. But either way, congratulations to those three new members of the city council. We look forward to working with you, and that is all I have for today. Yes, we have a redo, Commissioner Geithner.
I really try not to do this, but because it was such a hot topic today on this land use bill, I did want to note that on the committee did not take a vote on that on Thursday, so that is still pending. The committee members, including Senator Kirkmeyer, Senator Byron Pelton, and Senator Rod Pelton, who actually is my senator and serves the eastern part of El Paso County, were all asking very hard, tough questions on that, which I appreciated. But I wanted to also note that Senator Tony Exum is also on that committee, who is a local senator. And so if you are looking to reach out and affect the vote of that committee, those are folks that would be useful to contact. Thank you.
It's good to hear that our former colleagues as former county commissioners are hard at work at the state capitol as well, understanding the county implications of much of this legislation. Absolutely. Great redo. Okay, that brings us to item number 7.
Item number 7 is community service organization reports, and there are none.
Item number 8.
Item number 8 is public comment on items not scheduled on the agenda. This is the public's opportunity to speak on an item not scheduled on today's agenda. And Madam Chair, I don't believe we had anyone sign in ahead of time.
Okay, no one signed in. That does not exclude you from certainly letting us know if you would like to comment. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to comment on an item not on the agenda? Please come on down, state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Timothy Ramotka, and if I can have the use of the overhead, I appreciate it. First, I want to say, as I've been coming to a few of these meetings now, I'm just overwhelmed with all the things that you have on your plate from the people you acknowledge, and over the past couple of weeks, it's very important. And listening to your schedule for the days, the items, I just can't imagine the amount of weight that is on your shoulders, and I appreciate that as a introverted introvert, and for you in the public to address those things. Your decisions are very important and impactful for our lives, and if I had more than 3 minutes, I'd like to thank you properly. But I just want to say thank you for that. The reason why I'm here today is I just want to talk about, with these decisions you make, to ask that if you would request, require, if you would demand the most accurate information possible, because, like I said, once you make motions, it is into law, and it does impact all of us. And so last week, I thought my iPad would work with this overhead, so I'm the kind of person I don't like to have closed loops, and I like to see things out through fruition and planning. So I wanted to go over a couple of those items today with the time we have. So here we have, again, back to Howells Road, and I know it's perhaps a small item in perspective of the first responders we talked about today. But we have the emergency plan to access, and you see the arrows, and they're going to come down to this dot in this roundabout. And as of yesterday, looking at the date, I want to go through a few pictures. So this is from the roundabout looking at the high school. Here is the roundabout looking towards Old Ranch, and then Howells Road is behind there. Here's the roundabout itself. And there's actually a school bus that drove through Thunder Mountain. They did not go take a left onto Thunder Mountain. They went around the roundabout and came back, because people choose the path of least resistance. And there's even another car behind the school bus as they're waiting to queue. And then you can see, here's again a Corridor Crest Parkway. Here's at the 7-Eleven, some kids waiting that were being dropped off at the 7-Eleven to be crossed the street, and there's all the cars. And so, so traffic is a huge deal. And I wanted to, as you're thinking of these next components, if you would kind of keep those pictures in mind. So here's another picture of the development. We've got 247 units, and I rounded up to 80. Last week we talked about 70, so we got 40 round trips, we got 80 one-ways. And you see all of the red, which is the problem area. Real quick, and we're not limited to just those 80 in that area. I believe in addition to the 247, these people are going to be facing that traffic down here. We'll be continuing to go down that path. And like I said, with the planning, we do know that there's going to be an additional division up here. It's going to be about 70 units. And I don't think we're going to be asking those people to go down through all of this red traffic. They're going to be hitting this main Howells Road, and also mainly a huge portion going to go down Arrowhead. I'm out of time. I don't want to take any more of your time, but I just want, this is high school and elementary school. Lastly, when this report was done from July of 19 through March of 20, this elementary school wasn't even online. My son goes there. He went there from started. It started out with 399. This year it's 524. Next year it's projected over 600. So there's a lot of students, a lot of traffic, and this little thoroughfare is not going to be able to be sufficient. So there's a lot of other options out there. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, sir. And I just want to to clarify that was a very informative 3-minute. Well done. But I wanted to make sure you know that the next step on this is actually with the city.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tomorrow. Yes.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Come on down, introduce yourself with a name for the public record, and you may begin. Oh, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Oh, as he was checking in, I was going to say I did want to compliment the gentleman. That was one of the most effective presentations. You did go over a little bit, but in terms of public comment, in terms of like when we ask people to provide relevant information to the topic at hand and how you approve things, that was very effective.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board of Commissioners. My name is Harley Barton. First of all, I just want to say thank you, Commissioner Stan. I voted for you, so thank you for working. And I know Commissioner Gonzalez because he's one of our teachers. First of all, I just want to thank each and every one of you here for doing and serving the community. I live up near Rock Rimmon on Nevada, and so I see the work that you guys put into this county every day. So first, that's it. I just wanted to say thank you, and then I would just want to implore you. I know you guys don't have as much to do with any of this, but I just want to implore you guys to do whatever you can to make sure that Colorado has secure elections. So, but I'm sure that you guys are already doing that. So thank you very much, and have a wonderful morning.
Thank you. Welcome. Sign in and state your name for us, and you may begin.
Thank you. I need to push this back. I speak rather loudly, so says my wife. My name is Rick Whitford. I am a Charis Bible college student in the Practical Government School. I just want to thank that school for making this opportunity available to us because they've exposed us to so many things, and so many of my friends and people I meet ask, well, what's the government school about? Are you going to run for office one day? And we find out that, they say you're going to be senator or president or something silly like that. And we find out that, number one, so much control is local, and that support community change is all here local. And Kim Kohler, who's the director of third year, has been putting this together for many, many years. And it's just been so cool to see what we can do as citizens to get active in our community. And it's been demonstrated by a lot of you. Hello, Miss Bremer again. Haven't seen you since Palmer Lake. That was a fun night. And Mr. Gonzalez, always good to see you. Enjoyed seeing you at the CFAN Public Forum there. And didn't get to meet you, Miss Williams, but we were standing next to each other. And I think because of my strong jawline, you probably remember me a little bit. And if the camera doesn't show it, it's because it's on TV. But I just wanted to thank you for the work that you're doing in our community, especially as we move closer to trying to get roads fixed in this town. I know you hear about that probably often because the roads in this town are just really, really a challenge to probably keep up with and the funding for it. So thank you for having some of those projects available. But the thing that I want to implore all of the commissioners here is that there is a strong and growing concern amongst the voting public about honest and fair elections, that we all as a voting public care about our vote being counted. And when it's either not counted or the opposition is counted more than once, that's something that really can cause a big disruption in our constitutional elected process. And I'm glad that we have the opportunity to share these concerns, but I would echo my fellow student, Harley Barton, who is a up-and-coming star, that keeping honest, fair, and integral elections is important to not only you, I'm sure, in order to keep your seat or continue in what you want to do, but to also to keep this republic as constitutional as we possibly can. But thank you for your time. Thank you, Kim and Charis Bible College Practical Government School, for keeping us informed of how the process works. And I've never been under time in my life, so I did something right today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Come on down and state your name, and you may begin.
Morning, everybody, and thank you for allowing us, the public, to speak to you. Thank you for serving the community. I'm sorry, my name is Jeanette Keeling. I'm also a practical government school student, and we graduate in May, so we're looking forward to that. I just wanted to ask you, very concerned about the bill you were mentioning, and if you could please provide the actual bill number. We will do what we can, our end, to veto it or express our... Do you know the number,
It
please?
is 213.
Oh, 213. That's awesome. So thank you very much for your service. And thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez, for coming and teaching at our school. And we appreciate what you do for the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, welcome, and just state your name for the record, and you may begin.
Thank you for the privilege to speak up. My name is Kathleen Keenan. I'm a graduate alumni, Charis Bible College from Boston. And we believe in fair elections. I don't know how we can get rid of Dominion voting machine, but if it's the last thing I do when I'm living here, it will be ousted. I've seen so many fraudulent things on there that it's disturbing. I pray a lot. I pray a lot for this committee. Is that the HB 213 bill? Huh?
SB 213.
It's a Senate bill, Senate Bill 23213.
HB 213.
SB.
213? Senate bill. So does it start here in the commissioner's office? So I have to go down to Denver? I think I'd rather go in person, but I do appreciate all your help. I know, at this level, everything's on the up and up. I really believe you're doing the best you can. I do appreciate your service. But there's so much corruption, and it's only going to get worse with the currency issues, and we're losing our freedom and our democracy. And our amendment rights, our First Amendment rights, it's just ludicrous how they're arresting people for speaking the truth and penalizing them for years. And I just thank you that I'm able to come and express my feelings and see what I can do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda? One more coming down. While you're making your way down, do we have anyone online? No? Okay. State your name, and you'll have your 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is James Nash, and I'm a student at Charis Bible College in the government class. And just wanted to explain a little something. The government school class at Charis Bible College is a little different than most because it's based on biblical principles. Now, I'm not here to give a sermon or even give a speech, but just to encourage you in all these decisions that you have to make, in all the information that comes across your desk, all the places that you go, and the people you meet. I'd like to just encourage you to call upon your highest moral values in making your thoughts, your decisions, and your choices. We do appreciate, one of the things we did learn, I personally learned in this government school, is that the real action in government takes place between people, locally, and so I want to thank you very much for all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda? Okay, Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to express my appreciation to those of you that have come down here today to speak. That's engagement. That's important, and we appreciate hearing your comments. Keep doing it, keep learning, and get your friends to do it too. And I can tell you that we work the board here and the county, the team in the county works very hard to make sure that it serves the citizens of El Paso County in the best way that we can. And local government is so important. And this, by the way, I think is a very important topic because with the current state legislature, it has been bill after bill after bill after bill to centralize power and authority and take the authority away from local elected officials who you can actually reach out to and have a conversation with. Please, please do everything you can to fight the authoritarian removal of local control from the state legislature. And then the other one they do is unfunded mandates. They often write a bill that centralizes power and authority, then they ask local government or local citizens to pay for it. So to the extent that you can participate in that and get others to do that as well, loss of local control and unfunded mandates are the two big things we fight all the time. Thank you very much for being here.
Well said again. Thank you. And we're on item number 10.
Item number 10 is the called up consent calendar, and there are no items called up.
Item 11.
Item number 11 is department and committee reports, non-action items, and there are none.
Item 12.
Item number 12 is the addendum, and there is no addendum today.
And item 13.
Item number 13 is the executive session. 13A, executive session requests pursuant to CRS 246402 4B and E for the purposes of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions related to an amendment to a lease agreement with the Broadmoor World Arena concerning the Pikes Peak Center and determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators specifically related to the amendment to the lease agreement. Kenneth Hodges, County Attorney. Stephen Klafke, Chief Deputy County Attorney.
I move we go into executive session for the purposes stated on the record.
And I'll second.
That has been moved and seconded. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. We will now be in executive session beginning at 10:30.